Run it.
Heal my heart, my mind will change, my desire, and my whole life. I need your rain, healing rain, fall on me and heal my heart. My mind will change, my desire and my whole life. Need your rain, Jah open the heavens and heal my heart. Say, my mind will change. My whole life, I'm asking for your rain. One more time, let it rain. Say, my heart say, my mind will change, my desire, God, I'm asking for, that you will let it rain, that you will rend the heavens and pour down your Lord rain. Send the rain.
No problem.
Let it rain. Let it rain. Healing rain, fall on me. Heal my heart, Lord. My mind will change, my desire and my whole life. Asking for your rain. Healing rain, fall on me. Heal my heart, Lord. My mind will change, my desire and my whole life. I need your rain. Lift up your voice and say, Father, fall, and heal my heart. Say, transform my mind, say, my desire, and my whole life. I'm asking for your rain. Say, healing rain, Lord, fall on me and heal my heart. Say, transform my mind, my desire. Say, my mind, my whole life. I'm asking for your rain. Let it rain. Send your healing rain. Fall on me. Feel my heart. Mind will change. My desire. My whole life. I need your rain. Healing rain, healing rain. And heal my heart, say. Transform my mind, my desire, and my whole life. I'm asking for your rain. Lord, let it rain, say. Lord, let it rain, say. I'm asking for your rain. Let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain, let it rain. Lord, I'm asking for your rain. Open the windows of heaven. Open skies of heaven. I'm asking for your rain. Daddy, let it rain. Daddy, let it rain. Daddy, let it rain. Daddy, let it rain. I'm asking for. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let it rain.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad to come your way with this special show. 9 Talk is going to be very educative, it's going to be very engaging, and it's going to be lovely. And so I want you to stick around because it's a time where we're going to engage each other on delicate and critical subjects that relates to relationship, that relates to things like family matters, that relates to things like family life, that relates to things like basically all the intricacies of relationship, dating, marriage, and family life in general. And so I know that it's something that's going to be very practical and it's going to relate to you very, very much. By the way, because it's my first show, I need all the love and the support. My name, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and so that you can relate a little bit. A time is going to come where we're going to check chat, so it's going to be amazing. Stick around and you will love this show. My name is Pastor Kwame. I am currently based in Virginia, connecting with this sister station, and we are going to learn, laugh, and also be inspired. So stay tuned and enjoy the show 9 Talk. God bless you.
I put my hope in your words. Anytime you choose, Lord. Ancient word of a truth, AI. Your word is a light to my path, Lord. I put my hope in your word. Your ways are higher. Your plans are better. You won't fail me, Lord. You won't fail me, yeah. Your ways are higher than mine. Your plans are better. You won't fail me, yes. You are God who cannot lie. Even when things don't go my way, I trust in your heart for me. Even when I don't see your hand, I trust you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, officially we are on. This is the show we all been waiting for, 9 Talk. Again, my name is Pastor Kwame, and I'm going to, in a few seconds, kind of give you what we're going to do. This is the first show, so I have to bring it all strong so that you know that you cannot afford to miss the next episode every Tuesday right here on this station, 7 to 9 o'clock. We're going to engage on something very interesting, something very important, and very, very significant. All right, so what is going to happen tonight is pretty much I'm going to talk about how to actually design the time you are going to get married, how to plan the time you're going to get married. And I think it's very interesting because for all you know, you cannot really control when you get married because it's not for you to decide. But today I'm going to talk about how to actually plan your marriage before you marry, how to not just hope for it, not just pray, not just prophesy, but to know exactly that this is when I want to get married. And there's a formula, there's a plan plan I'm going to uncover for you. All right, so that's where the conversation is going. So today I want to just let you know that you can take control of when you get married. You can decide that I'm going to get married on this particular day, and it will happen because you are going to put a plan in place. And that's what I want to share with somebody. So I know you can't wait to know this crazy plan I'm talking about, but you are going to be surprised that there is a method to this madness. And so that's what we're going to engage in. So we are going to start from a quick story. So if you have a little time, let me give you the story so that it will frame what I'm going to be talking about. All right, so check this out. If you have a person that is in medical school today, they started medical school today, right? And you have another person who is home, and those two people, if you interview them and you tell them the first question to the one in medical school, if you ask her, let's say she's a lady, you ask her, Mary, when are you going to be a doctor? Mary can tell you exactly when she's going to be a doctor, because Mary knows that in the medical school that she is, there is a certain number of years that is designed for her to graduate and be a doctor. If you ask another lady who is Mary number two, when are you going to get married? Mary number two will not be able to answer you. The reason is because Mary number one is in a structured situation, and Mary number two is not in a structured situation. Mary number one is in a structured situation, and Mary number two is not in a structured situation. All right, now that is what I want to tackle. You have to understand that school or education is man-made. It was designed by man. Once upon a time, there was no formal education. So somebody sat down and decided that we can design a structure where somebody can go through and become something definitively. Before school began, family was already existing. So the family's responsibility was also supposed to do the same thing. So that before somebody graduates from home, they are moving into their second home. So I want you to understand that until we structure the way we relate as it relates to marriage, the marriage market is always going to be a maybe, maybe not. And that shouldn't be so. And so I'm going to show you in a few minutes how you can create your own educational program where you can graduate from that program into your marriage. Because right now, all of us, we date randomly. We date by chance. It's time and chance. When I meet, I meet. When I don't meet, I don't meet. And so it's because of that. Let me go back to my analogy again. If we have 10 people in medical school, all of the 10, God being so good, will graduate as doctors. But if you have 10 single people, after so many years, only some of them will be married and some of them will not be, because there is no structure as to how we get married. Now, if you look at the Eastern culture, which I will talk about later, they have a structure, so everybody gets married. All my co-workers who are Indians, they don't worry about if I get married or not, because there's a system that gets them married. So it's just a matter of time and they get married. No Indian family that I know worry about, I can't find nobody, because there's a structure already in their system. But that's not what I want to talk about. I'm not talking about Indians arranged marriage. That's not what I want to talk about. So just calm down. Right. So with that said, I want you to get your frame of thinking ready, and let's approach. So what you can what you can call this show is that designing your own marriage structure that can get you married. And that's the conversation I want us to engage in. So at least you know where I'm going with this talk. So stick around and I'll be right back so we can get straight with it. Designing your own structure that will graduate you into your marriage. It's very important that you don't leave your marriage to chance and random. I'm a pastor. I believe in prayer. I believe in the intervention of God, but I believe in responsibility. human responsibility. The last time God gave a wife to somebody, the person turned back and told God, it is a wife He gave me that messed my life up. So God wants you to be responsible and find a wife. Scripture says, he that findeth a wife. So you have to find a wife. You have to kind of connect to a husband, and it has to be intentional, it has to be strategic, and it has to be with a plan. And that's what we're going to talk about. If you don't have a plan, you're going to stay single for a long time, and that we don't want that to happen to you. So stick around, and we're going to talk about how to get married on time. How to get married on time. All right. God bless you.
Holy One, with everything I have, I bless your name. Say it, God. There is no other God beside you. No other God beside you. Blessings and honor and glory and power belongs to you, God. Ageless one, we worship you. Say you are God and He's holy. And He's holy. Come on, raise your voice and sing with me, it's God. Hallelujah. You alone are God Almighty. Say, we bless your name. You are God all by yourself. Hallelujah. Say, He alone is God Almighty. Holy One, Holy One. There is no God like our God. We can say, you are God. We love you. We love you. We love you.
All right. So, are you ready to learn, engage, and question me on my philosophy? All right, let's begin. All right. So, to get married on time, you have to have a system that will produce the time you're going to get married. When a farmer put a seed down, it is by God's mercy that the seed will grow. But when a farmer put a seed down, he knows the harvest date, because he knows that when I plant this particular seed, it takes this much time for it to germinate, it takes this much time for it to harvest. So they know exactly that if I planted it on this date, then I'm expecting the harvest on this particular date. All right. So to get married, at the moment, most people get married organically. In other words, it happened by organically. It doesn't kind of happen by being so much as in using a program or a system or anything like that. And when that happens, there's a problem with that, because you end up marrying anybody, and when you marry anybody, your marriage becomes anything. You understand that? Where do you meet him? Oh, I met him at a birthday party. Where did you meet this one? Oh, my friend referred to me. Where do you meet him? We used to work together. Where do you meet him? You see, marriage is so critical, but how people meet is so it's not deep. How people meet is not deep at all. How did you meet? Oh, we were at the barbershop, and we just connected. And you realize that your destiny is tied to somebody you met at the barbershop, at the birthday party, And there has to be a better way to do this. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that's what I want to talk about. So to begin everything, one of the things that you must understand is that every single person listening to me, what you have a lot, or what you have is time, a little time. Those who are single, they have more time than those who are married, because when you go out as a single person, you come home whenever you want. And so there's a lot of people that will say, Pastor, I want to get married, right? Now, if you sit down and you hope that somebody will hook up with somebody and you get to go on a date and all of that, that may happen to you, but you can sit for a whole month and nobody has come forward, 2 months and nobody has come forward, 3 months and you are in a waiting period hoping to get married. You know what I'm trying to say? Posting pictures here and there, showing your back here and there, things like that, just to let people know that you are in town. You know what I'm saying? You can do all of that, and that is not how you get it done. Marriage is so important that if doctors go to school for that long to be doctors, then people who must get into marriage must have something solid that is giving birth to the marriage that you will end up in. And so what you do is that my system, you don't set out to look for a partner. You set up to educate yourself with a system that will naturally get you a partner. So let's begin. The first thing you need in the program I'm talking about is what I call multiple social third spaces. Multiple social third spaces. I'm going to explain that. A social third space, before I talk about a third space, I will talk about a first place and second place, because you can go from 0 to 3. So a social first space is your house, yourself, your mom, your dad. That is your social first space. That's where you interact with people. Your social second space is your job or your church. Those are two social spaces, right? And for you to enroll in the system that will get you married, you need a social third space. Now we are in a social distancing, but at least you understand my concept. A social third space is if you have a job and you are home, the house is your social first space, the job is your social second space. So a church can be a social third space. So you realize that I got married in a social third space, which is the church, right? So, but most people, churches don't grow these days very fast. So if you go to a church, if there are 10 single people, the same 10 single people for about 20 years, and they'll be the same people. And maybe some of them are married, some of them are complicated stuff. So the first way you design the curriculum that will get you married is to plug yourself into not less than 2 extra social third spaces. So you can start by looking into volunteer programs where you take care of maybe young kids. A program that has sizable number of people that are around the show, like YMCA volunteer work, feed the hungry, all social programs like that. And you intentionally plug yourself in those spaces. Never forget the first rule. You don't go to social third spaces to find life partners. I will explain why you start with a social third space. All right. So with social third spaces, you go there to work over there. You go there, so you are investing your time in social third spaces. All right, so let me give you a practical example. Mary, now I told Mary, you can't sit down and hope you get married. Mary, plug yourself into 3 social third spaces. So Mary will start every Friday. There is this adult something that Mary will volunteer for 2 hours and go there and get a t-shirt and help the elderly people play bingo and whatever. Mary does that on Friday. Every other Friday, and then every other Saturday afternoon, Mary also has something he does for that. And these things that Mary is doing is giving Mary a social third space to interact. All right, very good. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit and come back again to tell you. I'm going to kind of use one social third space to explain pretty much how do I say? I'm going to use that to explain what will happen in that social third space. The bigger plan, I'll talk about that social other space as well. The bigger plan is that when Mary throws herself in these social third spaces, she increases her domain of people she interacts with. The rule of marriage is that never marry a stranger. The rule of marriage is never marry a stranger, or never marry a stranger. In other words, don't be there and mind your own business, and then your cousin say, hey, I know of a friend, you want to meet her, and you go and meet her, and you like each other, and you get married. And before you know, you marry somebody because you met, you dated for 6 months, and then you got married. You don't really know the person. The dating period of 8 or 6 months is all you know. And dating is not real. Dating is an act. Anybody who dates has to act proper. It's not their true character. You understand? Right. So you don't want to marry a stranger and get to know the person in the marriage. That's not a good idea. It happens to some people. Right. So now that you are in your social third space, right? Let me not confuse you. Let me keep talking about social third space. So you plug yourself in those social third space. Another thing I will tell Mary now is that Mary, let me look at your plan. You have social third space. Okay, you have 2 of them. It's not bad. That's all your calendar can allow. That's fine. The next thing I will tell Mary is to plug herself in a digital third space, social digital third space. The whole world is online. So you have to plug yourself. You have to intentionally plug yourself. So I know a lot of people are afraid of people online. It's the same thing with everybody. Just as you think somebody is a serial killer, they also think you're a serial killer, even though none of you are serial killers. It's just a matter of perception and what do you call it? Prejudice and all this mindset that is making everybody scared online. But when you connect, I as a pastor, I have pastored almost 50 people that I've never seen before. We just connected online. So if you go online community, there are real people there. Mind you, the rule is to go to that community and just interact, not to find a life partner. That is not how the program works. You will graduate and find a life partner, but you don't start with it. That's why I don't like dating sites, because that place, people already come in there to find a life partner, so they will not come real. They will not come proper. You understand? So when you go online, don't go on dating site. Just go online, go to groups, connect with people on Facebook, create new friends that you talk and chat on daily basis as normal people that you got to know on Facebook, and never bring the subject of relationship. Are you single? I mean, you can talk about single and things like that, but don't ever go to social test spaces with the intention of finding a life partner. That is not the intention. The intention of social test spaces is to gather knowledge of people. So Mary has 2 social test spaces, and Mary has a lot. Some of you, the person you can be happy with is actually inside one of the WhatsApp groups that you are in, but you don't know anybody there. So there are people surrounded to us because of social media. Everybody is connected to 10,000s of single people. That's just because we don't intentionally get to know people. We don't interact very well. Everybody's crying, I'm single, whilst there's a lot of good people on your phone that you don't know before. So with this approach, you go to your digital third space, you create friendship, you wish people happy birthday, you become friends. I have met a lot of people. My whole life, I was in New York for 20 years. When I came to Virginia, I'm not alone, because when I was in New York, I was connecting to people here and there. And so now I still feel like my community is with me. So you have to engage in a solid, meaningful, happy connection with as many people online and offline as possible. All right. Now that you have done your social third space, you have to do it for a while. It's not just 2 weeks and then you are done. You have to engage the social third space for a good number of time until you get married and your schedule doesn't allow you to engage that much anymore. So once you got the digital social third space going, intentionally connected to people, meaningfully chatting with people in a group and things like that, you have a bigger pool of people that you interact with. And your first step of the program is done. Now the second step is, now that you know people in your social third space, the next step now is to move them from your social third space into your inner space. So if Mary is working at the YMCA and George works at YMCA, the only reason George and Mike knows each other is because they all volunteer at the same time. But Mary doesn't know George that much. They only meet at YMCA, right? But Mary has seen George for a long time to know that George is a consistent, he's not a crazy something. Because they all are in the same program. So when Mary is reaching out to talk to George a little more, George is not a stranger to Mary. Do you understand that? So everybody you are bringing closer to you, you have observed them pretty well in the social third space. You understand that? So the next thing that Mary has to do in her program now is to now learn the skill it takes to get closer to people you have observed enough in your social third space. So when I went to the church, my wife was coming and going to school and coming, but anytime she come from school, she come to church. So I know her that this is a person that comes to the church. That a little bit of that knowledge is all you need in social third spaces, but we're not friends. And so you have to now learn how to. If you don't do that, you cannot be able to engage very well. All right, so I I want you to understand that as a very critical way of approaching what I call your social third space. So I want to be right back to engage with you a little more on how to now transition from bringing people from social third spaces back into your inner circle.
The Lord on your side, oh. You are saying, I know they fear. What's in life that do me? The Lord on my side. I am safe. It's not giving me spirit of fear. It's not giving me a reason to fear. He has given me power and a sound mind. So I don't fear who. I don't fear who. I don't fear who. I don't fear who. You're not alone, no. God is in control. The Lord on your side, oh. You are safe. You're not alone. You're not alone. God is in control. You're not alone. The Lord on your side, oh. You're not alone. You are safe. I know they fear. Waiting like they do. The Lord on my side. I am safe. I'm not afraid. 'Cause I am not alone. God is in control. God is in control. I am not safe. I am not alone. God is in control. God is in control. God is in control. God is in control. I don't fear who. Waiting like they do me. The Lord on my side. I am safe. You're not alone. You're not alone. God is in control. You're not alone. The Lord on your side. You're not alone. You are safe.
All right. So I'm back to kind of get you to transition from social third space to a little bit of inner space, and where I believe that is the next step. So now, to recap the plan, the first thing to deciding how to marry on time is to begin to invest time in social third spaces, not less than 2 social third spaces, and enough digital third spaces, so they have a big pool of people that you know. Go to social spaces to just know people enough, and then after you have done that, then you need a little skill to learn how to get closer to people you have observed enough in your social third space. You understand that? And that is where the technique comes in. And it's also not very difficult to do that because they know you, just that they are not close to you. You can't walk up to a person. I mean, I know those who go to parties and those who pick up girls, they don't care. Just walk into a stranger and say, "You are hot. Can I go out with you? Give me your number," and things like that. That is a little creepy. what you do is that, because George, for example, the George guy I'm talking about, and volunteer with Mary in the YMCA program, Mary can one day go up to George and say, hey George, so what do you do? You see what I'm trying to say? So what kind of work do you do apart from this volunteer? And maybe that it has even come up before. So the whole point is that when you interact in these social third spaces, which is sizable number enough to interact with more people, then you know other people, and now you can approach them closer. The way I have been able to minister to a lot of people on my digital platform is the same way. When I came on Facebook, I didn't go hunting people, hey, join my online ministry. That doesn't work. But when I saw them, they requested me, I accepted them. We didn't know, there are a lot of people that have accepted my request, and also I have accepted their request. They didn't know me from anywhere. But on a birthday, I would send them a nice picture of themselves and say, oh, that's nice. And if you do that for about a year or 2 or 3, they become your friend in a way, digital friend, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes some of them, they will see the things you do, and they can even invite you to their church to do programs and things like that. So when I came online, somebody will chat with me and say, hey pastor, I like this post you posted, and then through that we become friends. And then I say, hey, I want you to join my podcast and things like that. So you realize that I went online, spent some time in the community, got to know a little bit about each other based on what we post and what we comment and the jokes and the things we share. Through that, you get to know the person. So once you create that social third spaces, you are now able to walk up to a person who you serve with, a person who you do something in common with, and go to them and greet them and approach them and say, hey George, how are you? And or George can go to Mary and say, hey Mary, how are you? So you now begin to approach those in your third space, and you approach them closer a little bit. And then when you approach them closer, that is where you begin to find out a little bit about their personal life. Hey, this one, I'm already dating somebody, I'm not dating somebody. But if you don't do that, you end up having people who come to you and say they are single, but they are not single. You understand? Because if you and George are in the same YMCA program, and he comes every day, he might be probably coming with a girl that comes all the time. So you and guys will not lie to you if they are not coming after you. You understand? If somebody's in your third space and you ask them about their girlfriend, they will not lie to you because they know you, that you and him, nothing is going on. But when a guy is coming to ask you out, that's when they're going to be hiding their true relationship. But when you are in a third space with a person and they are single, you will know. When they are not single, you will know. You understand that? And that is how you got that solid information. All right, so let me continue, because we're going to go on a break and come back, and then I will wrap it up, and you spend the next 20 minutes asking questions and poking my system to make it fall apart before my own eyes. So I give you the challenge to poke my system until it doesn't work anymore. I'm ready for that challenge. All right, so once you have created a healthy social test space, you can approach people you like. Don't like somebody you don't know. Don't like anybody you don't know. That's scary. Don't go out with a stranger. That's a waste of your time, because that's what's happening. If you go out with a stranger, there's a likelihood that he is lying to you, and there's a likelihood that he's not. But if you go out with somebody you already know in your social test space, you know them in that space, but you're not close with them. So when you start approaching them, talking to them, and showing interest in them, they won't think you are crazy. You understand that? And so that is the program that gets you married. So when you have done all of that, and you bring people from your social third space, you just have to bring one person, not the whole people. One person from the many social third spaces that you belong to, you bring it to your closer, and you get to interact with them, you get to talk to them. Before you know, you don't lack a potential person you're going to be with, because everywhere you turn, they are good enough people that, because for example, if you serve in a homeless place, if you serve in with the elderly, any guy that comes there, you know he has a heart. Right away, you know that he's a real deal. You know what I'm saying? Wherever your social third space is, anybody that is there is has a soft heart, just like you. You know, so I figure it's a good thing for you to do. All right, so let's recap: social third space, digital third space, Then you approach the people there after you have known them for a good number of 6-7 months, when you have been there for sometimes even a year, because different people come to the program and go. But the good thing is that once you do that in your social third space, sometimes you find fulfillment in the things you do. You even forget you are single, and before you know, somebody is hating on you in that third space and something happened. But if you have nothing to work with, you have no places to go, then you'll be in your apartment single like nobody's business. You understand that? So that is kind of the whole idea. So from social third space, you move closer. When I come back, before we take questions and phone calls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to try my very best and kind of give you some tips on how to approach people in your social third space and not come across as weird or anything. There are sweet and tactical ways you can approach people in your third space, and when you approach them like that, so now the reason you can decide when you're going to get married is because when you are ready, you just move closer to anybody you like in your third space and to close the deal with that person. You understand what I'm trying to say? So when I say marry, when are you going to get married? Mary can say, okay, I plan on getting married this year. Because of that, I will approach John in my group and find out what John is up to. And if John is up to nothing, then there are other people that you admire in that big social third space you belong, and then one of them now becomes the person you are with, because you are not. Some people, they wait so long, they don't know nobody, before you know, somebody will connect a total stranger from nowhere to them, and they have to force and marry the person. That's not good. You got to open up your life to a bigger umbrella or circle of people, so that when you're ready to marry, you just zero in on a person you admire in that space and find out what is going with them. If they are already married, it's fine. Because you have enough social third spaces to interact with different people, and because they also know you, they don't think you are crazy when you start asking them questions that are a little personal. And before you know, you have this program that will yield a potential life partner that you know, not a life partner that you just saw 3 days ago. You understand that? So it's very, very, very good that you design that structure, and that's the school that produces your life partner. All right, so I'm going to hand over to the station, and then I'll be back to tackle on skills and things you need to know so that you can be able to approach people smoothly in your social third space once you are trying to show interest in them. If you're a girl, you can do it. If you're a guy, you can do it, because you are buffered by the social third space that you belong.
Transform my mind, my desire. Take my mind, my whole life. I'm asking for your rain. Transform my mind, my desire, and my whole life. I'm asking for your rain. Lord, let the rain say. Lord, let the rain say. I'm asking for your rain. Let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain, let it rain. Lord, I'm asking for your rain. Open the windows of heaven. Open the windows of heaven. I'm asking for your rain. Daddy, Lord,